The iPhone 7 made headlines in late 2016. It was the first time a big manufacturer like Apple removed something that had previously been considered a necessity from a big name like the iPhone, and it really caused a ruckus everywhere. People were outraged, both at the fact that Apple would do something like that in the first place, and the fact that people still bought the phone. To make things even worse, Samsung and Google made fun of Apple in their ads, and then removed the headphone jack from their devices and deleted those ads.
Why? Why would you remove such an offensive feature? Can't other companies tell out Apple being stupid?
The iPhone 7 turns half a decade old today. It's crazy how fast time flies. Today we'll be looking at it again and answering the question, should you buy the iPhone 7 in 2021, and if you should upgrade or not, if you already have one. Let's get on with the video. The iPhone 7 was an incremental update and broke a cycle we've seen with the iPhone since the 3G. The pattern is as follows. An iPhone is revealed, a normal numbered phone. This phone has a new design and all the bells and whistles. The following year, an S phone is released fixing the issues with the numbered phone and refines it. The design is kept the same, but there's a new chip. The 3G and 3GS, 4 and 4S, 5 and 5S, 6 and 6S all followed this pattern. In 2016, the pattern was broken. The iPhone 7 kept the old design from the iPhone 6 with the chunky front bezels and a single camera setup. Granted, there was a new black color and the antenna lines were pushed to the edge, and you can't forget the dual cameras in the iPhone 7 Plus. But other than that, the phone appeared to be virtually identical to the 6S. This bad situation was worsened when it was revealed that there was no headphone jack on the bottom of the phone.
Courage.
Overall, the iPhone 7 proved to be more of a 6SS than a full numbered phone, but that was okay. Many of the things we take for granted on our iPhones today first came with the iPhone 7. Water resistance, for example, portrait mode on the iPhone 7 Plus, stereo speakers, it was the ultimate refinement. Does this ultimate refinement still hold up half a decade later? Let's find out. Let's first look at the price point that this phone is available for. In Canadian dollars, you can get these phones for under $150 to $200 refurbished, and even cheaper if you just buy used. I've seen these close to $100 for the base 32 gig model. A very affordable phone. A benefit of buying an older flagship is that it was once the best Apple could do with their smartphones, so you get that high quality feel that you don't get with cheaper, newer Android phones. Speaking of how the phone feels, it's incredible. It's super light, and at just 138 grams, it's lighter than anything else on the market today, even the new iPhone SE 2020. The back is a matte aluminum finish, which is super nice and premium, but I have this clear case anyway, so I don't care. Buttons are tactile, and the home button, which actually isn't a button, is a vibration motor that feels like a button when it detects pressure. It's amazing. You can customize it by changing how it feels when you press it. The haptics on this phone are incredible and even rival flagship phones today. The speakers are fine, but not the best. Let's talk about the screen. The screen is probably one of the biggest signs of the iPhone 7's age. Big chunky bezels, sub 1080p display, terrible brightness in sunlight, 60 Hz. It sounds like modern hell on paper when you compare it to every other budget Android phone since like 2017. Android phones today have 120Hz AMOLED edge-to-edge displays with underscreen fingerprint sensors, and it does suck on paper. But the thing is, Apple has a way of taking low-end specs and building a high-end experience. iOS is just so optimized that you don't really notice the bezels, you just use the phone. In fact, a display nearly identical to the one on the iPhone 7 is featured in the iPhone SE, the iPhone XR, and the iPhone 11. I'm actually kind of biased. I just love this small 4.7-inch design, and the fact that you don't need to stretch your thumbs to use it is great. If you're already used to a super high-end Android phone screen and really don't want to go back, then this is not the phone for you. However, chances are if you're considering upgrading to a 5-year-old phone, you probably won't notice a screen difference. It's certainly a useful display. Performance-wise, the phone still blazes through day-to-day tasks, only slowing down slightly in heavier tasks. It's faster than the A51 Samsung phone from 2020. Performance is more than enough for most people. Compared to today's flagships, however, it's nothing to sneeze at. It does slow down when you turn COD Mobile to higher graphics, but games like Asphalt 8 run incredibly well. I think the performance is what held up the most over half a decade. In fact, the chip in this iPhone 7 is still featured in the 2019 iPad 7th Gen and the iPod Touch 7th Gen. Like I said before, the phone is incredibly thin and light, which comes at a cost. Battery. Batteries take up the most space in weight in electronics. This is my first phone, a Samsung Core LTE with a removable battery. You can see how much space the battery takes up, and you can really feel the difference in weight when you take the battery out. To make the iPhone 7 as thin and as light as it is, Apple had to sacrifice on battery life. The battery is a tiny 1960 mAh little boy, and while it is fine for light users, I can barely get past 2 hours of screen time with a full charge. I frequently have to charge multiple times in the middle of the day, and rarely game on it since it can run out of battery after less than 30 minutes of heavy gaming. Most of my gaming is done on the iPad 8th generation, which has an incredible battery life as well as a larger screen. Then again, my iPhone 7 is just at 83% battery health, so my battery life is 17% worse than usual. However, chances are if you're buying an iPhone 7, it won't be new, so the battery will also have degraded. If you're a really heavy user, steer clear. You can get an iPhone 7 Plus for just a little more, and that comes with much better battery life, a much bigger screen, and a gigabyte more of RAM, as well as a more advanced camera system. Android budget phones have much larger screens and much larger batteries as well. However, if you're considering buying this phone in 2021, chances are your standards aren't high, and if you just use this phone for calling and texting and simple photos, this phone still rocks. If you're fine with 2 hours of screen on time, then this phone is fine. Let's talk about the camera. The rear camera is a single 12 megapixel sensor, but it's pretty good for a 5-year-old system. Video on this camera is still pretty good, not great, but it can still handle 1080p at up to 60 frames per second or 4K at 30 frames. It also has optical image stabilization, which means videos are extra smooth. Sometimes video does get pretty grainy, but it's certainly pretty impressive. I film most of my videos with the iPhone 7, not this one obviously because I'm holding my iPhone 7 here. Low light photos are also pretty good, but the camera doesn't have night mode. If there's no source of light, then the phone basically takes a blank black picture. You could always use the flash though. The iPhone's photos are decent, but again, a lack of night mode or telephoto lens is a disappointment. However, photos are still pretty sharp and rival budget Android phones today. I don't know much about cameras, so here's some photos and video clips shot on my iPhone 7. So this is a front-facing camera test, as well as a microphone test. Ooh, look, that's the sun, I think, behind me. But yeah, it sort of freaks out when there's a huge source of light, like the sun or something. And like it overexposes here and underexposes everywhere else, like newer smartphones, which blends the light. But in normal lighting conditions, where you're not filming the sun, it's very solid, even in 2020 today. So yes, you see everything's nice, well lit, relatively well lit. See that? And now that the sun is behind the cloud, it's actually even nicer now. Everything's pretty good photo. And here's a selfie. Yep. Alrighty. That's it's a very solid camera. Now to draw conclusions. the iPhone 7 is in an awkward position. Considering the fact that it's already half a decade old, you probably shouldn't buy it. Then again, if you have one, you probably don't need to upgrade just yet. If you have an iPhone 6s or older, you wouldn't upgrade to it, and you should probably consider getting a new phone. With the iPhone 8 series, it's still a capable phone and can be a worthy upgrade to 6s or 5s users. The iPhone 7 is in the middle of that. To be honest, the only reason anyone would choose to upgrade to the iPhone 7 is probably the price. At 100 to 200 Canadian dollars, you can't get more value packed into such an affordable price. Find one Android phone that is water resistant, stereo speakers, an aluminum back, premium haptics, and more for this cheap. Granted, those phones will probably have better screens and more cameras, but the iPhone feels good to use. It's still smooth, and in terms of software, you don't really miss out on the features newer iPhones have. Budget Android phones are made to look nice, budget iPhones are made to feel nice. So in the end, you should only get the iPhone 7 if that's the price point you're considering. I think this is the best phone at this price. What do you think of the iPhone 7? Are you going to keep yours, or will you be upgrading soon? Let me know in the comments below. If you're watching this part of the video, you probably enjoyed it, so why not leave a like? If you're feeling really awesome, subscribe. I'm trying to hit 500 subs by the end of 2021, and I have an ultimate goal of 100 subs. Please consider subscribing, as it really supports the channel and you get regular tech content. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace. It's faster than the A51 Samsung phone from Samsung. The battery is a tiny 1960 mAh little boy, and while it's a little boy, video on the camera is still pretty good. Not great, but it can 1080p today. I don't know much about cameras, so here's some photos and video clips shot on my iPhone 7. Okay, put some photos in here, and like a camera test and a mic test. Okay, bye.